Welcome to the training on how to monitor gender in news media. My name is Glory Dharmaraj. I'm a consultant for the United Methodist Women. I'm also the U.S. coordinator of the Global Media Monitoring Project for 2015. This training is in preparation for the Global Media Monitoring, which will take place towards the end of this month, March, which is Women's History Month. Sponsored by the World Association for Christian Communication, the Global Media Monitoring takes place every 5 years on a single day. We United Methodist Women members have been taking part in it since its inception in 1995. This year also, we will be looking at the representation of the images and role of women in news media. Why we have to monitor gender has everything to do with whether there is fair and balanced representation of the images and role of women. For fair and balanced representation of women's images and roles ensures fair and equitable communication. Fair and equitable communication, in turn, has a key role in ensuring fair and equitable society. I invite you to join me in learning step by step as to how to monitor gender in news media. Slight technical difficulties, bear with us. Communication is a key missional concept. Communication is mission. To ensure fair and balanced representation of gender in news media is our focus today. From the 1990s, United Methodist Women members have taken part in the Global Media Monitoring Project, Gmmp. Organized by the World Association of Christian Communication, the first Gmmp took place in 1995. On a single day, hundreds of United Methodist Women members monitored newspapers, radio, and TV channels and entered their findings on the required forms. And I had the privilege of coordinating the United Methodist Women's effort then. The results were tabulated by Aaron Research Institute, Canada, and taken to the non-governmental forum in the United Nations World Conference on Women in 1995. The result? Only 17% of women were visible as news subjects, and the rest were men. This monitoring, global media monitoring, occurs every 5 years. And we as United Methodist Women members have participated in every one of them. 1995, 2000, 2005, and 2010. I have had the privilege of coordinating this for the U.S. since 2000. Through the eyes of Gmmp, just one key finding emerges among many. In the last 4 global media monitoring events, we see a steady increase in the percentage of women as news subjects, from 17% in 1995 to 24% in 2010. But we have a way to go. The tool we are going to use is Global Media Monitoring code sheets, monitoring forms. Each has to pick up 1 or 2 media to monitor. Choosing the news media you would like to monitor: newspaper, radio, television, internet news, or Twitter. You can choose more than one medium to monitor. If you choose newspapers, select National Dailies first. Then select regional newspapers within the country or local daily newspapers. Select the most important daily newspapers. For example, those that seem to have the largest circulation, those that have the strongest reputation for news. Please select newspapers that reflect diversity and balance. This is the newspaper coding sheet. Some of you have already received this. If you have not, please contact us. We will give the contact information at the end. For TV, select newscasts only. Do not select current affairs magazines, documentaries, infotainment programs, or programs that are mainly about sports. First, select newscasts from the US. Choose newscasts that are produced within the US. Then select transnational newscasts. If there are international or regional news channels broadcasting within the country, choose a newscast from one or more of these channels. Select the most important television newscasts. Select newscasts that reflect diversity and balance. This is a television coding sheet. And on your rightmost side at the top, you see the monitor code. That is your name, and then the country code, US, and the channel of the TV, and the newscast start time. And underneath you have space given for your comments. For radio also, select newscasts only. Let's not select current affairs magazines, documentaries, infotainment programs, programs that are mainly about sports. Let's select newscasts from the US only. Let's choose newscasts that are produced within the US only. They may contain stories from other countries, but the newscasts themselves should be produced within the US. Select the most important radio newscasts. For example, those that seem to have the biggest audiences, those that have the strongest reputation for news. Select newscasts that reflect diversity and balance. This is a radio coding sheet. For Internet, select only national and, if necessary, local websites. The Global Media Monitoring Project is concerned with your national and/or local news only. Select country-specific news websites. For us, it is US-based websites. Let's not monitor regional or the whole of North America, meaning the US and Canada combined together. Select only major websites. This means websites that you are reasonably sure are viewed on a regular, ideally daily basis by at least 50% of the Internet subscribers in the US. Example, NY Times, Fox News, Washington Post, LA Times, and so on. Select only websites concerned with news. Select national news websites first. Then select regional news within the country. For example, western part of the US, Midwest, or southern part of US, or local daily news websites. Then again, select websites that reflect diversity and balance. Internet news scoring sheet looks like this. This time, the World Association of Christian Communication has added Twitter as a medium of monitoring. We select only national, if necessary, local media house Twitter feeds. The Global Media Monitoring Project is concerned with our national and our local news only. Example, at NY Daily News, at Daily American, at BG Daily News. Please select US specific media house Twitter feeds. Do not code regional and international news media Twitter feeds, such as those of BBC International, at BBC World, at Al Jazeera. Do not code the international news Twitter feeds of such a provider. Restrict coding to the national and our local news media. This means that the main function of the Twitter feed selected must be to deliver news and not celebrity gossip, how-to journalism, advertising, quizzes, puzzles, or other interactive components. Just as you would not code editorials or letters to the editor in a newspaper, do not code reader commentary under the tweets. Select national Twitter news feeds first. Then select regional, in-country, or local daily Twitter news feeds. Select Twitter accounts that reflect diversity and balance. Twitter news coding sheet looks much simpler since Twitter includes 140 characters only. Now let us take time to look at this monitoring in manageable chunks. First, the news story. Let's identify topics or subjects. Topics are listed under 6 key divisions for you to pick from. They are all listed in the guide. Newspaper coding sheet looks like this, and on your leftmost side you see the story, and then in the next piece you see the journal reporter, and then the sources, next piece people, then analysis, then comments, and so on. Now look at this piece only, the story. Page number, column 2, subject or topic, and subjects are listed under 6 key categories: politics and government, economy, science and health, social and legal, crime and violence. These are what journalists call hardcore subjects. Then we have celebrity, arts, media, sports. What communicators call soft news. First, the story, page number. Subject, scope of the story, space. Equality, rights mentioned. First topic, politics and government. Please look at the numbers because we will be using the numbers as we code. 1. Women politicians, women electoral candidates. 2. Peace, negotiations, treaties. 3. Other domestic politics, governments. 4. Global partnerships. 5. Foreign international politics, United Nations, peacekeeping. 6. National defense, military spending, internal security. 7. Other stories on politics. If we have comments, we need to specify that on the rightmost side of the coding sheet. The second topic is another hardcore one, economy. 8. Economic policies, strategies, modules, indicators. 9. Economic crisis, state bailouts. 10. Poverty housing. 11. Women's participation in economic processes. 12. Employment. 13. Informal work, street vending, and so on. 14. Other labor issues, strikes. 15. Rural economy, agriculture. 16. Consumer issues, consumer protection. 17. Transport, traffic, roads. 18. Other stories on economy. Another hardcore topic, science and health. 19. Science, technology, research. 20. Medicine, health, hygiene, not HIV/AIDS, Ebola. 21. Specifically Ebola treatment and response. 22. HIV and AIDS policy, treatment. 23. Other epidemics, viruses, influenza. 24. Birth control, fertility, sterilization. 25. Climate change, global warming. 26. Environment, pollution, tourism. 27. Other stories on science. We need to specify other stories in the comments on the rightmost corner of the media monitoring form. Social and legal, that is another hardcore topic. 28. Millennial Development Goals, which the world leaders came up with in the year 2000. Now, post-2015 agenda, Sustainable Development Goals. 29. Family relations, intergenerational conflicts. 30. Human rights, women's rights, rights of religious minorities, rights of sexual minorities. 31. Religion, culture, tradition, controversies. 32. Migration, refugees, xenophobia, fear of the foreigners, ethnic conflict. 33. Other development issues, sustainability. 34. Education, child care, nursery, university, literacy. 35. Women's movements, activism, demonstrations. 36. Changing gender relations, outside home. 37. Family law, family codes, property law, inheritance. 38. Legal system, judiciary, legislation apart from family. 39. Disaster, accident, famine, flood, plane crash. 40. Riots, demonstrations, public disorder. 41. Other stories are social, legal. We need to specify in comments. The next topic, crime and violence. Under that, number 42, non-violent crime. 43, violent crime. 44, gender violence based on culture, family, interpersonal relations, feminicide, harassment, rape, sexual assault, trafficking, female genital mutilation. 45, gender violation perpetuated by the state, by the nation. 46, child abuse, sexual violence against children, neglect. 47, war, civil war, terrorism, and other state-based violence. 48, other crime, violence, to be filled in the comments space. The next one is soft core topic, celebrity arts, media, sports. 49, celebrity news. 50, arts, entertainment. 51, media, including internet portrayal of women and men. 52, beauty contests. 53, sports, events, players. 54, other celebrity, art, media, news. 55, anything that does not come under all these 6 topics. As a last resort, you have to go to the commentary space and explain that. Now let us look at it in manageable chunks. 1, story. Example, page number 1, you may find very important key news coverage. Or if in your newspaper it is the second page which carries important news, you need to start with that, but follow the stories wherever it is continued on the other pages. New York Times, USA Today, Florida Times Union, the Des Moines Register, the Denver Post, or some of them. Subject. Pick from among the 6. We have already gone through the categories and the 55 items listed under them. Let's pick up an example. In the New York Times, on February 26th, 2 of the key stories carried were on the first page, 1, fast way to many drugs on many cancers by Gina Colata. It continues on page A19. So I looked at both the story found on the first page and the story carried on to page number A19. And then there are other stories. When the shelling stops. This particular story is continued on page A4. We need to monitor as many as there are key stories found on the first page or the key page. But for our convenience today, we are picking up just one story, the first one, fast way to many drugs on many cancers. This is how the story looks on New York Times. So I look at the journalist who covered this news, did the interview. And the news says, chemotherapy and radiation failed to thwart Erika Hurwitz's rare cancer of white blood cells. So the doctors offered her another option, a drug for melanoma. The result was astonishing. Within 4 weeks, the cancer was undetectable. It has been a miracle drug, said Mrs. Hurwitz, 78, of Westchester County. That's where I come from, so I happened to pick up this newspaper. She's part of a new national effort to try to treat cancer based not on what organ it started in, but on what mutations drive its growth. So naturally I looked at the topic science and health. This is health news. 19. It is research. 20. It is medicine and health also. So I would put number 19, 20 under science and health in the monitoring form. Then the scope of the story. Fast way to try many drugs for many cancers. Is it a local news? Yes, it starts as a local news, but it has implications when you go through the entire story. It has implications for the entire nation. So I would include this as both local and national. The same news is carried on page A19, starting from A1. And we have the picture of Erica Harwitz also. And then if you go through it carefully, we don't have time to go through it, there are several interviews which the journalist has done. And the space given to the story, as you know, is more than 1/3 of the entire page. So I will say 1/3 page. Number 3, reference to gender equality. I did not see anything regarding that. So I will say no. Fast way to many drugs or many cancers by Gina. Column 6. Sex of the journalist or reporter. Gina obviously is a female. If I don't know the gender by the name, I would say I do not know, but mention the name. And in the same New York Times news story, I did identify the source of the information. It is Gina Colata, and it is her interviews. There are many interviewees, but she did the interview. The next piece, people in the story. Columns 8 to 17 cover that. And the story, the basic things we looked at. The quote is from Mrs. Hurwitz, 78, saying it has been a miracle drug. So in the newspaper coding sheet, under people, I will put the patient's name, Mrs. Hurwitz, and we know the age, 78. Do we know anything else? We don't know the occupation. Columns 8 to 17 are for people in the news. Code 1, any person whom the story is about, even if they are not interviewed or quoted. In this case, the person is quoted. Each person who is interviewed, there are several people, experts, who are interviewed in this story. We'll go through it next. Each person in the story who is quoted, either directly or indirectly. Then there is a question, is there any photograph? And we have the photograph of Mrs. Hurwitz. There are other people, such as Dr. David Hyman, cancer specialist at Memorial Sloan Kettering, who directs the study, on this person who has been interviewed. Then Dr. Richard Pasteur, who directs the Food and Drug Administration Office that approves new cancer drugs, looks at the data and asks, is the American population going to be better off with this drug than without it? Then we have Dr. Daniel Costa, researcher at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, Boston. Of course, United Methodist Women have their historical roots here for their support of deaconesses. Then we have Dr. Keith Flaherty of Massachusetts General Hospital, Dr. Jose Baselga. Then John Ravas, a cancer patient's husband. This patient did not survive. All these people were interviewed in the news story. So we need to mention all these names. Do we have the sex, age, and occupation of all these people? Of course, for all the doctors, we have. They are men, and their occupation is given, and we need to code that also. While you are doing this, a little bit of analysis should be going on in your mind. Is the story about a particular woman or group of women? This is about a particular woman, one, and this story clearly highlights issues of inequality between women and men. This particular story, in my view, does not highlight the issue as such, but we see, we readers and those who monitor see that all the experts interviewed are men. Does this story highlight issues of inequality between women and men? Does it challenge gender stereotypes? The story as such does not challenge, but we can mention in the commentary that all the people interviewed are men. Does this story warrant further analysis? A story warrants further analysis if it clearly perpetuates or clearly challenges gender stereotypes. But this particular story does not challenge gender stereotypes. We find gender stereotype in the story. That needs to be mentioned. You will receive a guide by email for each of the medium you are monitoring. For the monitoring, you need pencils and an eraser. If anyone needs a hard copy of the materials, such as the coding sheets and the guide, please let us know. The monitoring is in March, towards the end of March. We will announce the date later on because we do not want the media to be alerted at this point. For monitoring newspapers, you might want to buy the newspapers on that particular day of monitoring and do the monitoring within the next couple of days, not 5 days. For TV and radio, please take the news and monitor later if you cannot monitor on the same day. For internet and Twitter, monitor on the same day or save it and then monitor it. But please do not take more than 5 days. We need the completed forms by the end of March. Please send the first page or key page of the newspaper. You might want to clip it and send it to us after you have monitored and entered the codes. Save the news clip of TV, radio, and that you have monitored. In case we need further qualitative analysis, we would like to